He's still a pup, so he doesn't listen. I have a feeling someday he'll be useful. I suspect you've discovered a real diamond in the rough. With a little polish, I'd say we got a true diamond dog on our hands.
He's missing an eye. Oh my god.
DD, right?
You gonna extract him? Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around, you guys. This is the second entry into my Metal Gear Solid 5 plot synopsis. If you haven't caught the first one or seen the gameplay in between these two, you can always check those out just by clicking the links above. But if you're all caught up, let's get right into this week's story recap. We left off last week making our first visit to the newly constructed Mother Base, now relocated in the Indian Ocean in Seychelles waters, which is off the coast of Africa. These headquarters and the formation of Snake, Miller, and Ocelot's new private military organization, Diamond Dogs, were being developed over the 9 years Snake was in a coma. While the mission of their old organization was to provide military support to anyone who needed it, regardless of nation or ideology, there's not as much of a greater good or just cause being fought for by Diamond Dogs. Yeah, despite their new names sounding so noble, like, wow, Diamond Dogs, there's really no other reason for their triumphant return other than to prove to Cypher that they can't be beaten so easily, and to go back after them, take them down, and don't hold anything back this time. Do whatever it takes. And even though the theme of revenge is all over the Phantom Pain, this is one game that doesn't still try to portray Snake and the gang as the typical good guys. I mean, pick through any game the next time you're shopping online or out physically at a store, and I guarantee you half of the big game releases you come across will have something along the lines of all for revenge or nothing but revenge or any other trite combination of those kind of words and phrases. Sure, it's something that any audience can relate to and therefore be sold to on a level as massive as a AAA video game release, but that's all that it really seems to be most of the time. It's just good marketing, and I can admit that. At the end of the day, the protagonists are still the heroes, and the antagonists are the evil villains. But Metal Gear Solid 5 takes a different, more real-world approach to the concept of revenge in big fictional stories like this. Now, to truly get into the plot and themes of all these games is to have somewhat of an understanding of the world politics relevant to the time period each game takes place in. In the case of the Phantom Pain, that happens to be the Soviet-Afghan War that began with the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 and continued through the 1980s, which, with this game taking place in 1984, puts that right in the middle of that conflict. At the end of the day, though, this channel is for discussing and playing video games. I don't in any way consider myself a political enthusiast in the sense that I could accurately sum up world events and history like this to you all, so I won't attempt to. But I do believe that looking into it yourself will enhance your experience with this game and the rest of the series. Not to mention it's just important to be informed, so I highly recommend looking deeper into stuff like this. There's plenty of educational videos on YouTube, as well as websites and documents that you can find anywhere on the web. Again, the details that I do use to discuss MGS5's plot will be fairly few and far between, just keeping the focus on things that I'm actually qualified to talk to you all about and have opinions on the internet, you know? Alright, so what am I going on about? Well, part of Miller and Ocelot's whole plan for building Diamond Dogs back up and taking their revenge on Cypher kind of stems from rubbing their noses in this already years-long conflict as an opportunity to recruit troops, gather weapons and supplies. They take pretty much any job that's offered to them, like facility sabotage or eliminating a highly valued target, solely to earn in-game GMP or gross military product that goes towards their research and development of everything they need. Overall, they're using this conflict zone to their advantage, not to mention in northern Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. This explains why there are so many large outposts, villages, and facilities being controlled by Soviet guards for Snake to ransack and recruit soldiers to his own army, although recruit is probably the loosest term you could possibly use. So really all that's happened since the last gameplay episode have been the beginnings of this whole operation. We completed a few missions, earned some GMP, gathered some weapon supplies, grew our troops by a good bit, until the last mission we played, entitled Where Do the Beasts Sleep?, where we get a little bit more of a continuation of the story. One of the missions they accepted was by the CIA, who's been secretly supplying Afghanistan with their arsenal against the Soviet Union. One of these newly developed weapons is a homing missile launcher codenamed the Honeybee. An advantage that Soviet forces have had for a while has been with the use of their arsenal of gunships, each equipped with huge machine guns capable of just brutally cutting down any person on the ground and obviously dealing serious damage anywhere else. We'll definitely experience firsthand on more than one occasion that these gunships are just a major drag to deal with. But the Honeybee is specially designed to easily take them down. Currently, it's already under Soviet control, however, and so the CIA have requested that Diamond Dogs retrieve it before any countermeasures can be devised. For the US, this means keeping the Soviet Union at a disadvantage throughout this war. For Diamond Dogs, this means earning a healthy amount of GMP from the US, as well as the opportunity to analyze the weapon's special tech in order to make their own weapons from it. And I can only imagine that since this weapon has the potential to seriously turn the tide of the war, that Diamond Dogs would rather have it linger for a while longer, exploiting each side to their advantage for their own personal motives, that is, taking their revenge. And this is where, especially now that I'm on my second playthrough of the game, starting to refresh my memory a little bit, you notice that Snake and the gang are really not meant to be portrayed as heroes in this one. Right from the very start, Miller and Snake both established themselves at this point as demons from hell. They've come out of the darkest place in their entire lives, not to return as greater, noble people, but even more evil versions of themselves. And they've chosen to just revel in it now. While Snake is successful in infiltrating the Soviet outpost and retrieving the Honeybee, during his escape he becomes surrounded by heavy mist. The same mist he encountered once before while rescuing Miller. Remember the skulls? Well, here's a connection I'm sure you probably saw coming. Out of the mist reaches a giant metal hand that grabs Snake, knocking him unconscious. We then see the return of Skullface, the leader of XOF, who caused the destruction of the original Mother Base 9 years ago. After ambiguously warning Snake of the future, he's let go to die by the Mist unit, as this Grim Reaper lookalike is carried away by what we now see couldn't possibly be anything else but a giant mech. Snake, the living legend that he is, actually fights off the skulls with the newly acquired Honeybee until they retreat and vanish back into the mist, as it begins to clear up enough for Snake to escape by chopper. And that's as far as I've made it in my playthrough at this point. Thank you all so much for your continued interest in this video series on MGS5. Check me out on Twitch, I'm HeyBigZ on there as well, where I stream the gameplay of these Metal Gear games every Wednesday evening, and then some other different games on Saturdays. Like this video if you enjoyed watching it, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content like this, and stay caught up on where I'm at in Metal Gear Solid 5, and eventually the rest of the series. As always, for any more updates on what I'm currently doing, you can follow me on Instagram at HeyBigZim. Alright, thanks again for checking this out. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.